What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to another Warframe video. So we got Nekros Prime updated build guide today. He's back in Prime Resurgence after a while of not being there, and I want to show the go-to weapons and mod builds on Nekros that I use on a pretty much daily basis. One of my favorite frames, and he's also really useful too, giving extra loot and more. So let's hop right into the builds. But before we do, make sure to sub this channel to daily Warframe video uploads, build videos, news videos, all that kind of stuff. Right place for Warframe content. We'll be covering the Areli Prime update on Wednesday, and I've already got videos planned throughout the week for like Kalervo builds, Areli builds, Compressa, and more. But yeah, let's hop into what we have right now with Nekros Prime. So as you see in the background footage, I'm using the Ocucor with Nekros, and honestly, Nekros has some things that he has to think about. You as a Nekros player have to think about these things more than if you are on a different loot frame like Korra. One of those being enemies' bodies. Yes, the amount of enemy body parts on the map is going to influence how much loot you can potentially get while playing Nekros. And when you're playing Korra or like Atlas or whoever, those things don't actually come into account. So yes, rated M for mature for sure. So if we want to get more loot from enemies with Nekros, we actually want enemies to become dismembered. It might sound hardcore because it is. Dismembering enemies with Nekros can give you additional loot as they have additional body parts that can be desecrated with his third ability. So I'd recommend to you that you're going to either bring weapons that are weighted for slash, or you're going to do what I'd recommend and bring the Ripkas melee. The Ripkas melee with the Amalgam Ripkas True Steel mod is going to make every kill get a guaranteed dismemberment on enemies. So even if you're running a weapon that does not have slash on it, which usually dismembers enemies, you can dismember them with like radiation corrosive heat like I've got right now, which should not normally dismember them at all. Giving you extra loot, giving your teammates extra loot, and making it where you're even more useful for being there. So let's hop right into the sim. It keeps saying hop right in today, huh? So I must be in a bouncy mood. But here we are with Nekros. And as far as the dog, I've got the Nekros Junior Chesa Kubrow, who's got a mini version of Desecrate. Now, if you haven't ever played Nekros before, the main ability people care about on him, at least for me, is going to be Desecrate. Forces fallen enemies around you to drop additional loot. So it's a 54% chance for extra loot from a dead body, or from a dead body part for that matter. And then it's also, with our Augment Despoil, it will drain 10 HP per corpse. You can desecrate 3 corpses per second, I believe it is. So that's going to equate to like 30 HP drain per second. Now, as far as the rest of the build of the shards, I'm going to go over the full loadout right now. So we've got 2 casting speed shards for Nekros. If you ever do end up casting his 4th ability as ult, it's a really long cast time, so I'd recommend that you have casting speed on here somewhere. Additionally, second ability Terrify removes enemy armor and makes them run away. It's got pretty long cast speed, or cast time, and then Nourish also has a decently long cast time too. It's mainly for whenever you have to recast Desecrate to instantly get it out, or whenever you're casting Shadows of the Dead, because you don't have that for Shadows of the Dead, you're going to be there for like 5-8 seconds. Nekros' passive is restoring 5 HP whenever enemy dies within 10 meters. Now, as far as the build on Nekros, this is a full Shield Gate build. Now, you might be like, you said full Shield Gate, why is Arcane Blessing on there? We'll get to that in a minute. Now, when I say full Shield Gate, what I mean is that we can fully restore our shields by casting one ability. If our shield ever breaks, we will become invincible afterwards by casting an ability. So, between Brief Respite, Augur Secrets, and Augur Reach, we have a total of 230% energy spent on shields is given, or spent on energy is given to shields. So that is going to be our 111 shields fully restored by the 230% of the 50 of Nourish. So this is a full shield gate whenever we cast Nourish, which gives us invincibility. With catalyzing shields, we've reduced our shield capacity down to a number we can fully restore. So we're basically invincible as long as we do it right. So the invincibility loop of Shield Gate here is going to be as follows. I'm going to go ahead and show it to you guys. Okay, so we're going to unpause the Exile Gog stance. Not the smartest idea, but let's just go ahead and do it. Shield breaks, cast Nourish, Rolling Guard. Shield breaks, cast Nourish, Rolling Guard. That's how you're going to survive if you want to like be fully like getting face tanked. Now, right there, I didn't really cast it properly, but yes, you could technically do this over and over again. Of course, you should cast Terrify. If you're getting attacked by this many enemies, you should cast Terrify. But yes, you can Rolling Guard, Shield Gate, over and over again with this kind of setup. Now, is that what everyone's going to want to do? Of course not. But that is going to be the strongest way to survive in Warframe. And of course, you have not the most armor as Nekros. He has like 100 armor at base. So it's not like you're going to be armor tanking anyway. If DE does end up reworking armor tanking, maybe frames with 135 armor could actually do some semblance of something useful with HP. But yeah, you could also technically use Shadows of the Dead, augment Shield of Shadows to get DR, but it's not worth it for typical camping. We're just jumping around the Ocucor, honestly, so I would recommend it. So yeah, our survivability comes in the form of shield gating. And now, why do I have Arcane Blessing? Like I showed earlier, it's 10 HP drained per corpse by Despoil. And it's going to be basically you're losing 30 HP per second. So I like to have Arcane Blessing on here to give another 1,000 extra HP. So if I end up itching my nose or maybe going AFK while I've got my ability active that drains HP for every kill within 55 meters of me, I have a little bit more of a cushion to get back to the PC or whatever. So you could easily take off Arcane Blessing if you're like, you know what, I'm not going to be tabbing out whatever the heck you're doing, dude. So you could throw on whatever you want here. You could throw on Arcane Aegis, you could throw on Arcane Avenger, you could throw on Arcane Guardian if you were to try to go down the HP route a little bit more. You could go. There's really lots of choices here, but for me, Arcane Blessing's great on Nekros because he drains energy or he drains HP constantly. And if your teammates are killing lots of stuff like they should be, it'll literally be a constant 30 HP drain per second. And now, remaining the Ocucor is our go-to DPS weapon here. So I got Arcane Precision on headshot, increased damage by 300% for secondary weapons. Quite good on the Ocucor. And then as far as the rest of the couple of mods on here, we've got Rolling Guard to remove status procs, which is pretty nice. We've got Overextended and Augur Reach for big range, so we have 55 meters of coverage on our increased loot. And we've got Umbral Intensify to give extra power strength for Nourish, and also for Terrify. We don't need full armor strip with Terrify because enemies are so weak nowadays, but if you wanted to go for full armor strip, you should throw on another power strength mod, or maybe put Multi-Augmented over Arcane Blessing. That would work totally fine if you want full armor strip. And then for Shadows of that, this is not even cast, but if you do want to, you get some minions that can draw some aggro, maybe shoot some enemies. With Nourish and Shadows of the Dead, your Shadow Army will do viral damage, which is quite good. Now, moving on to our main weapon here. As I stated before, we have the Ripkas for dismembering enemies. The more enemy body parts there are, the more loot we can actually get from them. And the main thing you want here is going to be Amalgam Ripka's True Steel. It's just 100% gore chance is basically what you're looking for here. That's the last mod, line on this mod. This will make your abilities dismember enemies. This will make your other weapons dismember enemies. It's quite good. It works on things like Octavia and Saren. But yeah, we're using it on Nekros because the only frame it's actually useful on is Nekros because the extra loot from more dead bodies. So yeah, good stuff here. Now this is just the Ripkas. This is not really used much in the footage, but you can technically use the Ripkas to kill enemies if you really, really want to. It's mainly used as a dismemberment stat stick. Our main go-to DPS weapon here is the Ocucor. Yeah, the Ocucor is a sentient weapon, and we have the special augment mod called Sentient Surge, where each enemy destroyed by this weapon will refill the magazine, or refill 20% of the magazine, also increase status chance and crit chance by each tendril active. So it's basically a beam gun with mini tendrils that will go and hunt down enemies, or not hunt them down, but it will take care of them for you. As far as my Riven, I've got two elements on here, Heat and Toxin. If you don't have a Riven like this, you should be fine just putting on a Toxin mod there. Yep, it's the exact same build. Actually, you got more status chance than me, so there you go. It's a very similar setup, but the big thing here is that we're going to be using this to dismember enemies, and also to be very, very lazy. As this weapon does auto-refill its magazine as you get kills, we can just keep dismembering enemies with our Ocucor from afar in complete safety, basically. Corrosive and Heat is going to make enemies' armor fully removed, or not fully removed, almost fully removed. We've got Nourish from Grendel on our frame, so we have viral Corrosive Heat. They're getting really debuffed. If you are okay with this, I would not recommend this, but it is quite nice sometimes. You could take off Lethal Torrent with a new mod called Magnetic Might, and this is going to make it really good against Overguard, because Overguard, it gets debuffed by Magnetic to detonate, but the only thing is you're missing out on fire right now. So, also critical damage from Magnetic Might's pretty nice, because we're going to have so many crits of secondary Unnerving. But yeah, for general use, I'd recommend Lethal Torrent. If you're planning to fight a lot of Eximus, maybe go with Magnetic Might, because it does help a lot there. But yeah, just go ahead and show you how this works. We've got two heat mods on here to make the heat rating very, very high, and we could technically throw on some other mods like Elementalist or whatever. So we go ahead and summon these enemies in. I'm going to go ahead and cast Nourish to get that viral. And yeah, it can shred these guys pretty easily. And then, as you can see right now, I'm not even looking at these enemies, and they're getting shot by the weapon. And that's quite lazy and nice. So I'd say that's pretty good. And as you can see as well, their bodies are dismembered. There's extra legs here, extra arm flew off there too. So even though we have radiation and we have heat and all that, which would make it where enemies aren't getting dismembered usually, because of Ripkas overrides the dismemberment, which is, I know this is really hardcore. Rated M for mature. Again, if you're playing Nekros, he's the only friend that really has to remotely think about these things. So if I was to cast Desecrate right now, you'll see like that enemy's leg and that enemy's torso will give me separate loot drops. So that's pretty important. not important, that's pretty useful if you do want to be maining Nekros, which is interesting frame to main for sure. This is more of like loot bot Nekros right now. There's not really too much ability DPS going on. I'm mainly just there to double the loot, which is quite helpful. But yeah, as far as the build, like I said, I got double heat mods for more heat weighting. If you wanted to focus on something else, you could take off Lethal Torrent. You could also take off... That's pretty much it. You can only pretty much take off Lethal Torrent. The rest of the stuff's pretty good on here. Rune's Extension for more beam range. We got 28 meters of beam range. This could take out multiple enemies at the same time. Very, very good. Now, as far as the last weapon out here, it's going to be our anti-Acolyte weapon, the Miter. This thing is really clunky feeling, I gotta say. It's really, really clunky feeling. But yeah, if you do want to rock it, we got increased fire rate with Swift Saw Blades with the channel ability active, projectile speed from Swift Deliverance, and Commodore's Fortune giving increased crit chance. This is just really good for Acolytes because it has really high damage and really high crit. So I was using a different build on stream the other day, but having no fire rate felt awful, so I took off Prime Cryo rounds and put on Vigilante Fervor instead for more fire rate. So it's just used there to take out Acolytes. We got everything crit, everything corrosive, and I got a little bit of sprint speed too with Amalgam Serration. So showing how this works, it's really not the main go-to at all. It's literally, again, it's used if an Acolyte appears and I feel like it. If I don't feel like it, I'll just have one of my teammates take care of it. Because as Nekros, you're there just to kind of hang out and have everybody get more loot. So we go ahead and throw out some shots. The Miter bounces between enemies quite nicely. And yeah, Acolytes get destroyed by that really, really well because it has so much crit and so much base damage. Yeah, it bounces between enemies too quite nicely. Now you can even throw on the anti-nullifier mod called Neutralizing Justice. Nekros doesn't care about nullifiers that much, but it will turn off your Desecrate, meaning you're getting less loot. Whenever your Desecrate gets turned off, you must immediately recast it or you're under arrest. I mean, you're not allowed to play Nekros anymore, basically. So yeah, those are great to go. Now, as far as the Ripkas here, you shouldn't be using it as your DPS weapon, like I said. We can go ahead and quickly show up, but yes, it is not really your DPS weapon. It's your Dismemberment stat stick. And don't forget that, because you are not really meleeing with this setup. So there's one heavy attack right there, not too hot. Maybe some Galvanized stacks to make this look a little bit better, huh? Give me a kill here. Alright, one kill down. We got a Galvanized stack. Now we can actually walk around with a little bit better slash procs. So right there, you know, it could get the job done. Is it what you should be using as your main weapon? Definitely, definitely not. So, yeah, it's there to dismember enemies through its mod, and then it's a backup heavy attack slash weapon, if at the very, very best. So, yeah. All right, moving on to the last couple items here. We got the Nekros Junior Dog. Oh, I got Vazarin and Focus Tree to heal, by the way. The Nekros Junior Dog is the Huras Kubrow. And the ability it's got is Retrieve. Gives a 45% chance to give extra loot every 10 seconds from an enemy within 30 meters. So yeah, just extra little bit of loot every 10 seconds. Pretty nice. Beyond that, we got Medi Pet Kit and Momentous Bond to make this thing come back to the dead faster. We got Prime Animal Instinct to make it where we know where the loot is. This is very helpful because there would be so much loot on the ground when you're playing a build like this. You need to know where it is so you can pick it up. Also, Resource Retriever gives you a chance for double loot when you pick it up. It's a resources, that is. This would work on Steel Essence quite nicely. Fetch to pick up all that loot, so you don't have to take forever to pick it up individually. And then the rest of the stuff just to keep it alive. And to buff us a little bit. We got Tenacious Bond for increased crit damage on our frame, Calculated Redirection, and Hasten Deflection with Mecha Recharge for good shield regen. And that's basically it for the dog. Now, as far as the dog's claws, I do have the dog attacking things with Frenzied Posture. It's actually currently on a Toxin build to bypass enemy shields. And that's pretty much it. I mean, that's pretty much what the dog's there to do. Is they're to give me even more extra loot and maybe kill an enemy here or there. So yeah, now that we've talked about this build, is Nekros worth it? Yes, he is definitely very worth it. And he's actually quite versatile too. This is my go-to build where it's like shield gating with Arcane Blessing, jumping around the Ocucor, but it's pretty, you could pretty much just tab out. If I'm trying just to have some fun, but you could pretty much just tab out. And move around every so often with Nekros, because that's what you're there to do, is to give more loot. It's always how it's been, and unless they remove his loot ability, that's probably how it always will be. So, that being said, you don't have to be just sitting around doing nothing. I did end up getting the most kills at the end of this mission, if I recall correctly, with just the Ocucor as DPS. So, that's pretty nice. The Ocucor is still really strong. Now, as far as getting that augment mod, I believe that it's going to come back from the Halloween event. Don't quote me on that one. If it's not, if you want to get Sentient Surge, I believe you can just buy it from other players for like 20 plat as an alternative as well. So, I'll see you guys in the next video. We'll have Yavrili Prime on Wednesday. Hopefully this was interesting and helpful to you. Nekros Prime is available for Resurgence for the next 16 days. So, yeah, he might go up a lot after he gets revaulted, but we'll see about that. See you guys next time. Take it easy. Peace.